with no further ado, I'd like to introduce our guests to join us for this chat. Moderating today's conversation is Dr. Carol Whiteman, who's the co-creator and producer of Women in the Director's Chair. And we are also joined by a group of incredible women directors who are going to share their journey with us today. They are Gloria Yu Young Kim, Marie Clements, and Sonia Bonspiel-Bourleau. Thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Katie. Thank you.
Hi there.
Great. It's great to see everyone. I'm going to start this off and say thank you to the Canadian Academy, CBC Gem, and William F. White International Inc. for welcoming us to this space today. And thank you for recognizing the Women in the Director's Chair Feature Film Award and the conversation we're about to have with these fabulous directors who are recipients of that award and whose films have just emerged into the world. And we're going to have a conversation about that journey today. So thank you so much for that. I'd like to acknowledge that I'm here joining this conversation in Vancouver, British Columbia, and that is the traditional and unceded territories of the Coast Salish people, the Squamish, the Tsleil-Waututh, and the Musqueam people. And I also want to acknowledge that I was born or originated from Ontario, which is situated in the Mohawk, Bay of Quinte territories in Tyendinaga. So I just want to acknowledge that, and I'll invite our guests to also self-locate as we start the conversation and talk about their relationship to the land where they reside, work, and play, and honor the storytelling traditions that are so important to all our peoples. So something I love to do at the beginning of our conversations is ask the question, what do you love about storytelling? And that leads to a question about what drew you to the story that that you won the Feature Film Award for, that you ended up using those resources for. So Sonia, I'm going to start with you to introduce yourself and answer all of those questions off the top, if you will.
Okay, Sego Sewaguego, Sonia Youngyats. My name is Sonia. I'm originally from Ganassadage Mohawk territory, which is about 45 minutes northwest of Montreal, but I currently live in Gatineau, which is unceded Anishinaabe, Algonquin territory. To answer the question why I love storytelling, I've always been drawn by stories since I was very, very young, whether it was films or books. And I love all forms of storytelling. I actually started in the theater. I think it's such a powerful tool to express different ways of seeing reality, basically. It's reinterpreting reality. And I just find that very powerful and an amazing tool to change the world.
Yeah, and we'll get into that later. So Gloria, how about you?
Hi, so I'm actually originally from Seoul, South Korea. My mother's family's from the north and my father's from the south. So they were part of the diaspora that happened during the Cold War. I currently reside in Toronto, which is traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas, the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people. And why I love storytelling is I love telling truth, and I love showing truth, and I love connecting with people, and I just love creating empathy through stories.
You love creating empathy?
Mm-hmm.
Empathy. Fantastic. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Gloria. Marie.
Hi, Marie Clements. I'm on Galiano Island, which is a Penkalit territory, my cousin's territory, and I've been living here for quite a while. My mother was from the Northwest Territories. I'm also Satu Dene, Métis. And I think I didn't really, I mean, I guess when we're young, I think story is just an innate part of us, like it's part of who we are. And I think what's great about it is that, you know, we all come from different backgrounds and different histories, and that kind of informs how a story is built inside of us. So really, I didn't really think about it too much. I just thought that was a part of our being, like that we imagined the world. We had imaginations when we were children. And then as you get older, you start recognizing, oh, you want to become an actor, or you want to become a writer, a director. And there's no one that looks like you in the stories that you wish you were in, or in the dialogue that you wish you were in. And so I think part of that really was to, that awake something in a lot of artists. So for me, it was to tell stories and to see women that I recognized on stage and on screen, and to tell stories that weren't being allowed to be told.
Right. And Marie, I'm going to stick with you for a second and ask you, because it's a very interesting journey to creating Red Snow. And I wonder if you could share just a little bit about how that story came to you.
Yeah, I was really just, it was one of those ideas. I was looking at a magazine article, and it had these, I was really looking at a Canadian soldier who, their time and experience in Afghanistan. And I was looking at some of the photos of the Indigenous people there, and kind of went, oh, they, you know, in certain angles, they look like Indigenous people from the Americas, from Canada. And what is similar, what would be similar in that dialogue with these two ancient cultures that had survived so much. So really it just kept me on a path of curiosity, going, what would that dialogue be? And really, how do we use our identity and our culture and our, you know, ourselves to really survive? How do we use everything we are to continue to survive? So kind of ignited from there.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, we'll get into the more details about the story and draw you out a little bit more on that in a moment. And now I'd like to turn to Sonia and ask you what drew you to your story, to Rustic Oracle, to creating that story. How did that come to you?
Well, actually, about 15 years ago, when I started as a director, as a writer and director, there was 3 stories that I knew that I wanted to tell, or 3 themes that I wanted to tell. And one of them was my own history, my family history, which I did through 2 documentaries. And the other one was missing and murdered Indigenous women. And in 2008, there's 2 girls from my partner's community, Kadaganzibi, who went missing, and that really shook everyone from that community, of course. And I kept thinking of the family and how it affected them, and that is kind of what led me to writing Rustic. But the first draft was many years ago, and I felt that I wasn't ready to direct that story quite yet. So I made a first feature film and kind of build the confidence with that one before I went back to Rustic. But it was in with only love and just so much love for that family and what they went through, and so many other families that went through it, and they were the backbone and the driving force, and the energy that I had to do it came from them, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to ask you another question about the perspective, which is very unique from other films about this subject. That's very powerful and emotional. And so, could you talk a little bit about your intent of creating a new perspective there?
Yeah, for sure. I again, back to Maisie and Shannon, who went missing from Kadaganzibi, I knew that they had siblings, and that really got to me. I kept thinking of, how are they coping with this? How are they understanding? And I have kids, and I kept thinking, how would my youngest react if our oldest went missing? And I guess that was basically the driving force behind Rustic Oracle. I felt like we don't give enough room for kids to drive narratives in film, because it is something that's hard to achieve. But there's something very beautiful about childhood, right? Even if they're in something that's traumatic, they're spontaneously going to want to like have fun or be happy or laugh. And so all that I wanted to show that. I wanted to show the love and the light that just naturally come from kids, even when they're going through something super traumatic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit more as we talk about casting and working with the young people in your cast. Gloria, how about you? How did your story come to you? I know it's got roots in personal experience, and if you could share a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm a survivor of violence, and I wanted to tell a story for other survivors to help empower them, so they wouldn't feel so alone. I think that we're, even in the post-Me Too era, we still have trouble talking about these things. And for me, it was just really important. I think connection was such an important part of wanting to tell this story and wanting to show other survivors and other women that there is a path out of that kind of existence and outside of patriarchy. So that was where my story came from.
Mm-hmm. We shared some questions earlier in the prep for this conversation, and my next question is about what you enjoyed the most. And I want to acknowledge, though, that the topic or the subject matter, the themes of your films are very serious themes and very emotional. But what I love about your take on it, or your particular individual perspectives, is that you have this hopeful approach, or that there's this resilience that shines through, and that is thoroughly engaging and enjoyable for audience. What in the process of making these films was the most enjoyable part for each of you? Sonia, I'll just go back to you.
Definitely being able to shoot it in my community. I think that was the most amazing part, is having everyone everyone involved basically in the community, where they were in the crew, or they were extras on set, or they were just there because they wanted to be there and be a part of it. I think that was the most amazing thing. I don't think I would have been able to do it without them. And honestly, even when I watch the film now, I can still feel that. I can still see it almost. It feels like a community made that film, and so I'm pretty proud of that aspect of it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, me too. I have to say, I had the opportunity to visit each of your sets while you're in production, and that's one of the things that I felt in your particular case, Sonia, is that intense community feeling that you were shooting from home, basically, from a home family kind of environment. It really came through. Marie, what's something that you really enjoyed about the process of making your film?
I think getting to be able to make it, to be honest. It was such a long journey to get there that you just your head goes a bit crazy because you're actually doing it. And I think the privilege to be able to do it is really extraordinary when you've been working hard to get there. There were so many things, as often as filmmakers, there's so many things to be grateful for, but definitely being able to shoot in 4 languages and to represent those cultures in as authentic way as we could. That was really kind of a beautiful, it just gave us a lot of grace to carry with us. So that was great.
Yeah. Awesome. Gloria, how about you? What's one of the joyful things about the process of making your films that sits with you to this day?
I loved working with the actors. I think that was like the biggest pleasure, particularly working with Tina Jung, who plays the lead, Deborah. She was a dream to work with. Like, she was so much fun, and her process was so intense, and it was so private, and she did so much work. She really dove into the character. Like, she took dance lessons and she journaled as the character, and then she would come to set and then we would just play, and I think that was such a joy, like, just to be able to do that with her, and also just to be able to cast an Asian female lead, because it just so rarely happens.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really wonderful.
Absolutely. And you sort of prompt me to my next question, and I'm seeing in the chat that we're being invited to be more specific about the films. I've mentioned Sonia's Rustic Oracle, Marie Red Snow. For Gloria, your film is called Queen of the Morning Calm. And before I go into the talking about the cast, could you just talk a little bit about the title, where that comes from?
Well, so I'm Korean, and what they call Korea is the land of the morning calm. And I just thought, my two leads were a mother and a daughter character. And for me, I mean, the story kind of revolves around the two of them. And for me, they were both, even though Deborah, the mother, was a sex worker, and her little daughter was kind of this abandoned little, quirky tough girl. I saw them as queens. I saw them as like the owners of their own stories, and so I called it Queen of the Morning Calm.
And finding that second queen to play opposite Tina as the mom. Can you talk a little bit about discovering Eponine?
Oh my gosh, yeah, that was she was so incredible, and she was such a find. Eponine, I actually didn't know who she was. She wasn't kind of in the circle of child actors that get shown to you, because, and my casting director was Marissa Richmond, and she did an amazing job, and she brought out, child actor after child actor after child actor. And I just kept saying, I don't know, they're not quite right. I'm just looking for something special. I'm looking for a stillness that you sometimes don't get in child actors because of the kind of work that they're trained to do. And I reached out to my friend Ins Choi of Kin's Convenience, and he comes from theater, and he knows a lot of actors in Toronto. I said, Ins, I'm looking for a child actor of this age, who could be biracial. Do you know anyone? And he said, well, actually, my friend Richard Lee has a daughter who might work, but I don't know, you'll have to reach out to him because the material is so challenging. And so I reached out to him and, sent him the script, and he, I heard back from him, and apparently he had read the script, and so had Eponine, and he had said to Eponine, I don't know about this script, Eponine, it's really challenging material. And she said, no, I really want to try out. I want to audition. And she came out, and she just blew me away. She was so incredible. She just had such a special quality about her that's so uniquely Eponine. And
so uniquely Mona.
yes. She just totally inhabited the part in a way that I really could not have asked for better.
Yeah, she really inhabited that role in such a special way. And I saw the tapes and was won over right away in the audition process. So yeah, kudos to you and the whole discovery process there, Gloria. Because she really offsets the duo of Deborah and Mona, the two lead characters. It's just lovely.
Yeah.
And speaking of the child actor discovery, Sonia, could you talk about discovering Lake Delisle?
I feel like Gloria and I have almost the same story. It's pretty awesome. Same thing. We auditioned many kids through agencies and stuff, but I don't know how to explain it. They most of them felt like they had really, really rehearsed, their roles, but couldn't break out of what they had done while rehearsing. And Lake came to an audition, and she was so flexible. It was weird. She was able to get all those curveballs that the other actor was throwing at her, and she would be able to play with him. And to me, that was like a sign of, okay, there's something great about her. And she was so funny and fun and spontaneous, and there was all these like lovable things about her that I was in love from the first time I met her. And very mature for her young age. She was only 8 when we auditioned. She was 9 when we shot, and she carried this beautiful maturity, and she came with the most loving mother on the planet. That helped. Cookie was amazing. Couldn't have done it without her. So she was by our side the entire time. So it was really nice to have her with us, because I could turn to Cookie and depending on her reaction, I kind of knew if I could push Lake a little further, or if, you know, for that day that was it. And so we were able to like move things around depending on how Lake felt, and I could use Cookie as that monitor almost, you know, to see where she was at. But Lake was absolutely perfect for the role. And I think the duo, I guess, like in Gloria's film, the duo with Carmen, it just made everything just perfect. You know, I don't think the film would be what it is now if it wasn't for Carmen and Lake.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's being evidenced in how their performances are being received with awards. Eponine just received an award from the Canadian Film Fest for her breakout performance, for her newcomer award. And Lake has won awards as well at I believe at the American Indian Film Festival. Lake won an award there, and Carmen just won an award at the Leos, the Leo Awards here in British Columbia last week. So, you know, there's something to be said about the chemistry and that beauty of casting when it really works. Marie, I'm going to jump to you now about casting, because the casting of your film is a little more complex, because it takes place in memory and in vision and different temporal fields, like different temporal timescapes. And so the casting of your characters is a little more complex. But I wonder if you could start with talking about where you found Mojda Jamalzadeh and how that came about.
Well, she loves to tell the story that she got this message from me on Facebook, which actually she did. And I was searching for an Afghanistani actress, and just came upon her. And then I kind of got, you know, was a girl fan of her, because I, you know, realized that she was this activist and fighting for women's rights and children's rights in Afghanistan. And that she was also this major pop star, which, you know, I didn't know of course. But all of a sudden, those two things came together, and you know, she's this, you know, obviously when you see her pictures, she's this extraordinarily beautiful looking young woman. But what I loved about her was just she was the character. And I think, you know, all directors kind of go, sometimes you just look at someone and you go, oh, you are the character. I don't know what's going on, but you just walked in the door. And that was kind of what I felt with Mojda, is that she really brought to her not only, you know, her skills obviously as a professional, but everything that she was and everything that she had endured and everything that she wanted in the world to that character. So I was really fortunate to you know, Facebook her and have her answer. But you know, we kind of became friends before we were in pre-development. And you know, her father had a relationship with her father, so that he became our cultural keeper. So it was really kind of a family that I, you know, got to love and know, and they brought everything to the film as well. So it was really fortunate for that one Facebook message, you know.
Yeah, it's
sometimes
amazing.
it works, right? Sometimes it works.
Really works.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, what I love that you each have in common is that there are parental supports for some of your cast members that really help to bring a lovely foundation to the cast, to the storytelling as supporters of the story, if you will, for the young cast members. Mojda's mom as well, and her dad, and Ishan's mom, who plays the little boy in the story. It's very powerful to have those influences when they're when the spirit is really generous and loving, and you've created that on set. I just want to comment on that you each were very successful in creating that atmosphere of care and loving on the set. Let's see. I have a question. I was going to jump to how you were how you utilize the Feature Film Award. But since we're talking about cast, I wondered if you could just talk a little bit more about rehearsal, because working with young performers and sometimes complex material, did you have rehearsal process, you know, given your budget restraints and all of that? Marie, did you have rehearsal?
No, I mean, we really didn't. And I think that was, you know, our schedule and budget dictated that reality. But I think what was fortunate, because a lot of the actors, or most of the actors, had to learn languages that weren't their own. You know, so they really had to not only, you know, understand what the script was trying to dictate, but also really understand what this new language and how that felt in their mouths and their bodies, and how to do that in a really short time. So I think what saved us all really was the connection to the translators and the cultural keepers, you know, months before. So really, I've been working with those translators probably for 8 months before. And then that kind of went into a process where we were delivering the script and the audio tapes and the phonetics to the actors, and then the actors were engaging with them through Zoom on coaching sessions. And then, of course, you know, all three of the consultants were with us every frame of the movie. So they really, you know, not only, you know, they obviously have the director's support, my support, but they also had these cultural keeper support. They also had their family support. And I think that really goes a long way, because, you know, I'll just speak for Indigenous work, you know, we feel responsible to what we're representing culturally. And when we're dealing with language, it's really emotional, because a lot of us haven't, that language was taken from us. So I think we're really trying to not just say the words, but we're trying to be the words. And, you know, when you look behind you and there's, you know, Lillian Elias, and, you know, who's like been a teacher of her language for, you know, 40, 50 years, to try to resurrect it, you kind of feel a certain kind of responsibility. And I'm only laughing because there's so many times, you know, Lillian, her niece, Renelta, who's Arlek, is a really fine, beautiful actress we know and love. And she'd be saying the words, and we'd hear from the back, "That's not it." and then we'd have to go cut. But there were so many fun times, and it brought kind of this love, but this very huge discipline and kind of, you know, I have to be better. And I think we all felt that we just really have to be better. And I don't know what that means, but, you know, that's what you're trying to do on set every second anyways. And yeah, so I think big responsibilities, right, on these ensemble casts, and doing new material and doing challenging work and speaking languages and ideas that I think are, hopefully, you know, are fresh and kind of new to the storytelling landscape.
It becomes homework, doesn't it? It becomes embedded in your own individual preparatory work for each individual collaborator. It sounds like for you, Marie, that there's an expectation of, we're always doing that work. Even if we don't have a formal rehearsal process, we'll have a read through, but there's all of that preparatory work that goes in. Like Gloria, you were talking about Tina's homework of her journaling and all of that in-depth preparatory work. Sonia, can you talk a little bit about the rehearsal? Did you have rehearsal with your cast? And I know you were dealing with languages, French, and you know, the different languages in your film as well.
Yeah, we had rehearsal time, mainly because, well, we had two rehearsal moments. One wasn't really rehearsal, it was more just breaking the ice, because, like, you know, she's not a professional actor, and I wanted to make sure that she was comfortable with Carmen. So we brought Carmen to Montreal for a week, a couple of months before the shoot, just so everyone could meet, and so they could already bond and they could, like, communicate with each other before the shoot. So that went really well. And it was also for me and Carmen to bond. So I brought her to Gunnesadage, and I showed her around the community, showed her where we were going to be shooting. So that created a really great bond for all of us. And then before the shoot, we had 4 days of rehearsal. Then again, the rehearsal, we went through a few of the harder scenes. It was mostly for Lake. But it was also just to make sure that she understood the script and she was okay with it and that she was comfortable with it, that nothing made her uncomfortable. Same for Mackenzie, because Mackenzie has a few scenes that were, you know, a little bit more intense. So we did that work too, just to make sure that once they get on set, they're comfortable with that. But also because we were shooting with a child actor as our star, our days were quite shorter than they would have been if we were only with adult actors, because union says that kids can't work longer than 8 hours. So because our days were so short, I knew that I wouldn't have the luxury of like lots of rehearsal on set, like lots of blocking time or any of that. So I think it was a way for us to actually save both financially and on time to have a couple of days of rehearsal before we started the shoot.
Mm-hmm. And Gloria, how about you? What strategy did you use there?
Well, we didn't really have a lot of extra money for rehearsal, but what we did do, I made sure that Tina and Eponine first met, and we had a little kind of meeting where we weren't really on the script. I was just kind of getting them more used to hanging out, and, you know, like we did a little dance party, and I got them kind of familiar with each other physically, because that mother-child relationship, I think, is so intimate, right? And it's also physically intimate. And so I had them also just do like a couple of scenes, just read through a couple of scenes, you know, where I had Eponine tugging on Tina's arm every time she wanted something, and it really shifted the dynamic between the two of them, because they were first so polite with each other, but because they were able to kind of touch each other a little bit like that, they that kind of barrier that they had just broke down right away, and they became such fast friends, which was really nice. And then we did have a couple of little stunts, and so we did rehearse the stunts, because that, I think, you want to rehearse. You don't want to leave that to chance. So yeah, and then we also had Jesse Levercombe, who plays the dad. We had him read with Tina and Eponine, just so that the family could feel a little bit familiar. Mm-hmm. So that was my strategy.
Yeah, that's it, and it really helps, doesn't it, to have that to break the ice. I know that as a result of breaking the ice with your film, Sonia, Lake and
Mackenzie?
They bonded like real sisters. You know?
They're still super close. They're like best friends. They're still, I saw them last week and they were together. And they didn't know each other before, but they come from the same community, and now they're just inseparable. It's beautiful.
Lovely. I want to talk a little bit about collaboration and your key collaborators, if we can. Who was it that what really got your vision and that you might have turned to the most in your collaborative team? You know, we have our designers and our cinematographers and, you know, our logistics support from the directorial department and the script supervising. Who was it on your team that you would say would be a go-to person for you to have those kinds of conversations, or were there multiples? Marie, can we talk about your collaborators a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was, you know, lucky seems a hard word to say. I mean, you try to be strategic and you try to build an ensemble of artists that you feel that you can, I was going to say muscular, but you know what I mean? You have to kind of be tough, but you want to find people that have skills that can complement your own, but also achieve the ambition of, you know, whatever ambition you're fighting for in the script and in the story. So, you know, definitely like Michael Diner and James Boatman and Carmen Thomas, Jamie Allen, Wayne LaValle. I mean, I had a lot of really great artists lining up with me, Craig Berkey. So people that, you know, at various degrees in their career, some very, very senior people that really kind of just said, you know, I can make this, I can make something happen. And so I feel really just, you know, forever grateful for that kind of ongoing collaboration. And obviously my DOPs, if I didn't have those guys, Roger Vernon and Bob Ashman, you know, achieve what they did, things would be very bad. But, you know, I was just lucky to find that kind of artistic collaboration. And it was very, I felt it was very physical and very like the idea that we were coming in every day going, what about this? What can we do here? What if we, you know, it was always that, because we were fighting, you know, against the elements so hard, shooting in the Arctic and shooting in the heat. And it was just that kind of crazy filmmaking war. So I really needed people that, you know, could come and change, but also have a plan. And we had a lot of plans, and I think we achieved most of them, which is, you know, I think only bodes well on them, because they're pretty extraordinary collaborators. So.
Yeah, those key creative collaborators are like extensions of your brain almost, when it comes to the imagination that comes to the table, that gets brought to the table. And Sonia, what about you and your key creative collaborators? Let's keep the circle in creative collaborators right now.
Yeah, well, before shooting, my biggest collaborator was of course Jason. He's the producer, but he's also my partner, and he's also a creative producer. So I always bounce ideas off of Jason. So he was part of the process from day one for sure. But on the shoot, well, my cinematographer, of course, Patrick Kaplan, because I've worked with him many times, and it's at a point now where sometimes I don't even have to express myself with words. It can actually just be sounds or grunts or whatever, and he knows what I mean. So that was amazing. But the two people that I didn't even know all that well before shooting and became these pillars were my first AD, Marilou, and my script, Patrick, the other Patrick. I could turn to them at any moment in time, and they would like just fill me up with the right words, but also the right ideas. Oh, they had solutions to like all these little obstacles that we had during the shoot. And for me, it was so comforting to have them. They both have more experience than I do on set, so that also helped quite a bit. I felt like I was well surrounded having those two people beside me, and we clicked really, really well from day one. And you saw it, Carol. Like Marilou was like a powerhouse, right? Like she run that set like perfectly, and the script was amazing. It was my first time actually working with a professional script. My first feature, we didn't have the money for a script, so we're doing our own thing. And it just made it so much easier to have someone there noticing all those little things. And so they were by far like the two people that I leaned on the most during the shoot.
Yeah, script supervision is an unsung hero. A little shout out to my stepdaughter. Like it's just an incredible gift to be able to keep track of those things and to be that logistical mind when you're really into that creative space. So it's really a gift on set, isn't it?
Yeah.
Gloria, how about you? Who are some of the go-to folks that that you turn to in production?
In production, well, my co-producer Josh Barsky was great. He really helped, just, you know, because I think I had to cut something like 20 pages from the script just to be able to make the days. So that he was really helpful with that. And my cinematographer, Dimitri Lopatin, was so key and helping me create the look. And you know, we did a lot of consulting beforehand, and I sent him a lot of visual samples, and we went through every single scene and, you know, floor planned everything. And then just on set, he was so key. Him and my B camera operator, Julian Lomaga, were just great. So we were a really good team that way. And then, I mean, afterwards, you know, like my two editors, Michelle Schemberg and Orly Bouillon, were, you know, they really, really, really helped me create the story in a way that I could not have done on my own. Like they were so, it was really wonderful, you know, because they were both women, you know, they both had such great ideas and were able to take the visual elements and lift it up from the script, if you know what I mean. So, you know, they were truly, truly phenomenal, I have to say.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I have a question here from our audience. They're asking about finding producers, and that's always a big challenge for getting films made, is to have that producing partner. I mean, each of you, Sonia, you didn't produce Rustic Oracle, but Marie and Gloria, you were the lead producers or the majority producers on your projects. So you had the extra a business affairs hat on as well. Can you talk a little bit about your producing configuration, Gloria? A little bit about finding Sonia, for example, and
so I was the lead producer, so I was the person that signed all of the contracts, and I had to go to the bank and, you know, figure out the money and the loans and stuff. But I was really, really, really blessed that I had Sonia Di Rienzo. She was incredible. A lot, like I guess her title is executive producer, but she took like all the weight of all of that paperwork off my shoulders. And, you know, all I can say is thank God for Sonia, because I don't know how I would have been able to do that while I was shooting. You know, and even now she takes care of a lot of it, which I'm so thankful for. So, yeah.
Yeah, great. Sonia's awesome. Sonia, Hawkeye Pictures. Marie, you had a producing team that grew over time and shifted and changed. And because this project, Red Snow, took how many years from kind of when the Feature Film Award came on stream to production? It was, how many years was that?
I think 9 years. I think
9 years.
Yeah,
it's a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're always forever grateful to the producers that get you there and make it happen. And I think, like all, you know, as a writer, director, producer, that we're fighting for a vision for our stories and for the companies that represent those stories. So you're looking for people that come to the table that have different skills that can complement your own. And you know, it's a lot of work, I think, to tell a story, to tell a film, and it takes a lot of years and long relationships. And so I think, yeah, it's talk about collaboration. You know, it really makes you understand how, you know, how lucky you are sometimes, and how much you have to work towards creating something that everyone can be proud of, but also everyone, you know, that you're respectful of what they invested in.
I mean, with the history of Red Snow being 9 years, you know, there were shifts and changes in the producing team, and I know that that's, you know, that's the natural course of a lot of films, that if it takes a very long time, sometimes the timing isn't right for a particular matching of producers and that sort of thing. So I know that that's happened with Red Snow, and then as things wrap up, everybody takes different roles. And so I know that Lael McCall, Michelle Morris, Juliana Bertuzzi all play different roles sorry, his name has gone out of my head. Your co-producer,
Jonathan
Tammuz. Yeah. So everybody's sort of on different tasks at a different time, because Red Snow was a huge undertaking, so ambitious of a project. So I want to acknowledge that that flexibility and that you know, determination and tenacity that has to go along with carrying a project to its completion is no small feat. And so, you know, that is a really challenging relationship to carry forth for like that length of time, almost a decade to carry. So kudos to you, Marie.
And the second one will be shorter.
Yeah, hopefully. But for the whole team, for, you know, carrying something for a decade to get it to the world. And Sonia, you already spoke to your producing partner, Jason, who, you know, your actual partners. So there is that innate kind of collaboration that doesn't go home from the, like it goes home from the office.
It's a 24-hour-a-day collaboration. Yeah. Well, they often say that like the producer-director relationship is almost like a marriage, you know, because you're with this person for so long. Us is actually is. It actually is marriage. But yeah, but it's a good thing because we're working towards the same goals, and we spend most of our days talking about work, but we actually get a lot done just by chatting over dinner, you know. So it's so far so good. And you know, we're both aware that we might not do this forever ever, like always constantly working on the same projects. Like we might eventually branch out, but for now it works fine.
I'm getting some questions about budgets and shooting schedules, all the technical stuff about getting to action, getting to camera. And I want to take a moment to shout out to our Feature Film Award sponsors, because they were part of getting us to action on these films. And so just to, you know, shouting out to William F. White International Inc., who provided grip and lighting gear for Gloria, your film, and Marie's. It was different because you shot in Quebec, Sonia, so we arranged other sponsorships through our Quebec connections. And could you talk a little bit about maybe the number of days you shot and the barest of information that you can share in terms of the scope of the project? Gloria, I'll start with you. How many days did you shoot?
We did, I think, principal, we did 19 days. We had shorter days as well because of our child star. And then we did 4 days of pickups after we got money from Telefilm.
Right. And Sonia, how many days did you get?
We had 29, I think.
Wow.
We had a long shoot. Yeah, 29 days. No pickups. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And Marie, how many days did you shoot? I know you had a split shooting schedule.
Yeah, we shot first in the Arctic for 5 days, and then we shot, I think another 15 days in the interior. So it was a little, it was literally minus 51 in the Arctic and plus 38, and we shot mostly on land. And yeah, so it was a real test.
Yeah.
It was a real good test, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. And who supported your cameras, Marie? It was Panavision, right?
Panavision, yes, yeah, yeah.
And Gloria, in your case, was it Panavision as well?
Yeah, it was also Panavision. I was really lucky.
And Sim and Jane Tattersall supported your post.
Yeah.
And for post for you, Marie, it was it Encore Vancouver?
Yes. Yeah.
And DBC Sound.
Yeah.
And in Quebec, for you, you worked with Postmodern.
Yep, worked with Postmodern for
Electric and
Walter Group Electric, and then Mel's also in audio post. Yep.
Yes, fantastic. Great sponsors. And we have lots more sponsors, including Front Row and the Research House. And so this whole package, it's always tailored to each individual project. And it's got its own way of navigating in terms of negotiating what those gifts are. And they add on to your budget in an in-kind way. That's how each of you utilize them, correct? So I'm looking at another question with regards to that collaboration. I'm just going to jump back to collaboration for a moment and ask a question about your the female crew and how that worked, and how, because each of your crew production environments were really interestingly balanced and in terms of gender representation and inclusivity. Can you talk about how that influenced the tone or the atmosphere on set? Maybe Sonia, you can start.
Yeah, we had a lot of women. We had a lot of Indigenous women too, which was great. I had an Indigenous woman at the head of like production design, hair and makeup, costume design. The only area that was harder to find someone was camera. Like when it came to camera and grip and all that, it was a little harder there. So if anyone wants to, you know, get into the industry, go into the camera. But yeah, I wanted to make sure that I had, especially the story that we were telling. I think it was really important to have as many women and as many Indigenous women as possible in our team. And it was great. It was a lot of the guys that had like many years of experience, like set PAs and stuff like that, they said that it was like the nicest set they had ever been on. And I attribute that to the fact that there were mostly women that were running the set. And I took that as a huge compliment. I was like, yay, women, we're nice to work with, but we still get stuff done on schedule.
That's right. Marie, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, as, you know, Indigenous film company trying to get as many Indigenous creatives involved. So I was really happy we got, you know, some major key creatives there, and really trying to bring people up, and definitely, you know, have women on everywhere, because we love women. And I don't know, I just find it balances out, you know, it really balances things out. And it's okay to have a calm set, you know, it's okay to have a set that people aren't screaming. That's all right, because, you know, a lot of women that work in the industry are, you know, they're warriors, and they kind of come to it with a real calm kind of idea of the world. And that's what you need. And I kind of love that, because it's just, you know, this is matter factory, this is, you know, this is what it's going to be, or this is not what it's going to be. But they're also really in tune with what's happening in front of them. And also, I don't know, it just feels like it just builds a more balanced idea of the world that we understand every day. And so I think it makes sense to keep fighting to see that with who we work with and engage with. We all know that, but, you know, it's what we're fighting for sure.
Gloria, do you have something you'd like to add to the gender on set? And
yeah, I mean, I think it's important to have women leadership on set. I was really lucky. My line producer was a woman. My production manager was a woman. We had women in camera, we had women in grip, we had, you know, the keys, you know, hair and makeup and wardrobe and production design were women. So I do think it's important. I think that I heard from another friend, a writer, Jill Golick, and she said one of her students was on set and said, you know, oh, she was so calm. And I was like, yeah, I guess I was really calm, you know, but I think that you want to nurture that kind of safe environment on set, you know, because it is a lot of work. It is really hard. It's, you know, very stressful, and everybody does their best when you're calm. So I'm agreeing with everything that Marie and Tanya are saying.
Fantastic. We're rounding up to a few final minutes of a conversation, and there's so much more to talk about. I could sit and chat with each of you for hours and hours. I love you all. I do want to ask you if you have anything to share with us about in the conversation around race and the safe space that you're talking about, Gloria, and what you'd like to see, or thoughts that you have that are important to you as you move forward as a filmmaker. Anything you'd like to share, Gloria?
I mean, I'm really glad we're talking about race. I'm really glad we're talking about Black Lives Matter. You know, I think it's important. I think it's something that's been going on for so many centuries, and it's time that we talked about this. And my hope and dream is that we will continue to work on this, that we will continue to dismantle systemic racism. I think that I mean, I'm really happy to be on this panel with all of you and with these beautiful women filmmakers who are telling very specific stories that are very specific to their communities and their culture. I think that that's so important, because these are the stories that I think people want. And I think it's time that we do finally shift into that kind of diverse storytelling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, creating that space. Thank you. And Sonia, do you have anything you'd like to share on that subject?
Well, I think we're in an era now where there's more and more space made for Indigenous stories. I see it and I feel it, and I find that absolutely amazing. And just a note on crew and your team. The way I approach projects now is I will choose, obviously I want as you know, as diverse a set as it can be, but also I want to make sure that the people that I'm surrounding myself with understand the Indigenous perspective, respect it, want to help me carry it. And I will take someone who is more open to that over someone that is more talented in the same position. You know what I mean? Like, I'll take personality and openness and willingness to share diverse voices over someone who has loads and loads of experience, but is a little bit more closed-minded when it comes to that important issue. So moving forward, that's how I see collaborating with other people.
Thank you. Marie?
Yeah, I guess there's so much to say about that, isn't there? But what it's really, you know, I just really respect, you know, all the people and all the artists that fought to bring that, you know, to bring it forward, so that the change that we've all been really aching for, we can actually see. You know, we're starting to see it, not just in our own work, but in other work, including the filmmakers in front of me. You know, we're starting to see what that can bring to story. And I think that's the exciting thing, and it's a hopeful thing that in my lifetime, you know, I'll be able to witness it, not only do it, but witness it. So I think those are, you know, beautiful things. So lots of work to be done, but I think we're ready to take it on as usual.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
bravely and courageously. Before we go, we're virtually out of time in this virtual space. Marie, Sonia, Gloria, can you tell us where we can see your films?
Who first?
Marie.
Go, Sonia.
Oh, Sonia. Okay, go ahead. Sonia, where is Rustic Oracle, Sonia?
Well, Rustic Oracle is being released in theaters in Quebec on August 21st. Yay!
Theater! Oh my God.
Yay, theater! Oh my goodness! So, and then after that, we're not sure if it's going to have a theatrical across Canada, but Jason is working really hard on that. And it will eventually be on all digital platforms by this fall. I don't have a date yet. And eventually on CBC once that is done.
Fantastic. Gloria, where can we see Queen of the Morning Calm next, and where's its path going? Oh, unmute.
Sorry. I'll be screening with Cinefam in October, and I'm excited about that. And then we're working on doing virtual theatrical screenings across the country, and Sonia is taking care of that. And then it'll be on Super Channel. Well, it'll be on the digital platforms, and then it'll be on Super Channel in the fall, winter.
Fantastic. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Congratulations. And Marie, how about Red Snow?
Yeah, we had our digital release, theatrical release. I think we started in May, so it's out on iTunes. You can get Red Snow there, and also our original sound score on iTunes. And we broadcast on CBC in September.
Yeah, is it September? What is it? September 11th or 19th? Do you remember, Marie?
I believe it's the 11th, but stay tuned.
At 9 p.m. Eastern, I think, is what I recall.
Yeah.
And just a gentle shout out to you for braving a theatrical release on the eve of the announcement of a pandemic, Marie. I think you need to win an award for that.
Well, you know, it took me 9 years to make it, and then we released on the day the pandemic hit. So I think it all makes sense. It's like, why would one thing be easy? But sad but true. But I think there's a few of us in that boat, so you know, there you go.
Yes, exactly. And I want to say what a pleasure it's been to speak with you. We're out of time. It's been my honor to be named executive producer on each of your films through the Feature Film Award. And I can't tell you how proud I am of the work that you've done, the voices that you share with the world. I want to thank the Academy for, I want to thank the Academy. I want to thank our Canadian Academy for sharing this space with us to help elevate and spotlight your wonderful films and the work that you're doing as creators in our country. So thank you for being here with us.